Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Detective Officer Long. I'm the crime analyst here at 43 Division. I'm just going to run through a quick slide presentation of the stats for the past month since the last meeting. We'll start with the computers and that.
And again, Adam, we want to move this along as you knew that was coming, man.
I start community map like usual, showing the communities represented here in 43 Division, and that the representatives of the CPLC are in those communities. We do have a couple of communities that are underrepresented, so if anybody knows anybody who's interested, please pass along the message to that. Our first slide here, this will be the collisions for the month of March at 43 Division. This slide here, as you can see, we show a slide like this every Thursday before this meeting, and every Thursday of the week. We have a meeting, a crime management meeting, where these slides are shown to the inspector and the superintendent, and they use these slides to dictate where our traffic enforcement is going to be for the upcoming weeks. As you can see, like usual, we're pretty much dominated by property damage type accidents in this division. Busy area up there by the Scarborough Town Center. But take note, we do have approximately 400,000 cars come and go from that area a day, so that is a high traffic flow. And so far for the year, our collisions are down. So.
And we have an analysis, and I hate to be driven by numbers, but that's a reality of life, and it indicates that we are doing better with our enforcement, and it's reflecting in the fact that our accidents, not only 43 Division, but citywide, are down 23% to date from last year to this year, which is always good. And then, of course, the reminder that as we all finally start to enjoy some warmer weather, here come the motorcycles. And hopefully all the enthusiasts enjoy the weather, but you know, we four-wheel drivers more often than we would like don't see them when we're looking right at them. So hopefully we can keep those numbers down.
The next slide here represents some of the enforcement we do. This is the collisions overlaid with enforcement. So the little lightning bolts are collisions, and the blue cross is enforcement. As you can see, our enforcement stats all year long so far have been way up. Officer Pappadopoulos is really trying to get to know the community apparently, and working hard. So that's another reason to represent why our collisions are down too. And moving into some of the crime statistics. This next one here shows our break-it ends for the month. This is the month of March, but right now in the past couple weeks we started trending downward. If you're at last month's meeting, we were really starting to get affected by residential entries. And if you see down here, these blue dots, a lot of those were all residential. We did do some tiny little projects to help combat that, and our residential entries have decreased greatly in the past 3 to 4 weeks. We are seeing some commercial entries pop up, but entries in total are now down for the year.
We've also, not just again within our division, made some significant arrests of characters who we believe are responsible for strings of them. And I believe it was out in the West End, they arrested an organized break-and-enter gang who are operating right across the city, including in our division. So we like to see the numbers go down significantly, and this was no doubt due to specific people who are engaged in this full-time professionally being arrested. And I hope they get deported, but that's not my call. They were visiting the country.
Moving on to the next slide, robberies. Again, different colored dots represent our different colored zones. Robberies for this year have been fantastic. We were down last year, and again this year we continue to trend downwards. One thing to note, not only are we trending downwards of our robberies, but the majority of these robberies are setup robberies. So not to say it's not too many people being robbed on the streets, like the things we've talked about in the past, like the chain grabs, the cell phone grabs, those are almost non-existent. And with the setup robberies, so far this year, we do have an arrest rate of over 50% of robberies in this division, thanks to the hard work by the officers here.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that what Adam was talking about, when you talk about setup robberies, yes, they're a concern. There is some correlation to that and illegal drug transactions and that. We call them drug rips. A couple of those robberies had the feeling that might be the case. But it is significant that you don't have the crime of opportunity robberies where you just have a citizen walking down the street that gets robbed. Seeing that number driven down is, I'm telling you, it's in large part due to the visible uniform presence that we continue to focus on. We have a project right now, Project Team, which is concentrated in the Markham, Lawrence, Markham, and Edmonton area. Absolutely, the visible enforcement, I'm confident is driving those numbers down and keeping them down. So it's good work.
One of the other styles of setup robberies is Kijiji, or you're going to meet somebody online in a certain location to exchange the money for the profits. And I don't want to pick on Kijiji, but any other company where they have this kind of arrangement. And yes, they do show up to receive their product, except they didn't bring the money that they planned on paying for it. If you are engaged in things like that, and you're going to meet somebody you've never met before, and they sound good on the phone, and they sound fine, go to a public place, and a widely public place, not in the backside of a commercial store where nobody can see and there are no cameras. Just take precautions. And again, we're also noticing in relation to the weather, as the layers of clothing come off and we start showing our bling bling, that the opportunities will increase. But we saw a major drop last week. I think we only had 3 street robberies, which is pretty phenomenal for us, and due to the fact some of the projects were running, and hopefully because it was cold out and people are bundled up and you don't see the gold and the sparklings. So well, hopefully we'll keep that trending downwards.
And our next slide here is vehicle thefts. Another slide, really good, very sparse up there for the size of this division. Continuing now into the 4th month, the only thing we're really seeing most in this division is the theft of older model cars. So we have older model cars, make sure you're locking them up at night and stuff like that. We haven't seen too many high-end auto thefts or midline auto thefts over many years, which kind of indicates organized crime stealing them. So it's really good. It's helped keep our numbers down to that next year.
We're just referring to an auto theft from a woman. I'm sure everybody saw the past weekend where a lady was followed into an underground. Always, again, be careful. But the better side of that story, I'll let Staff Landers praise his officers.
Yeah, the major crime unit and members of the community response unit got on that investigation right away, obviously, and in short order, we were able to identify a few of the suspects. Arrests were made, I want to say the next day. I'm fairly sure it was the very next day. The investigation is still continuing. There are quite a few players involved, but arrests have already been made in that carjacking. So I think that's just indicative of the kind of work that happens here on a regular basis.
And they're connected to 3 other similar type carjackings and possibly a 4th across the city.
Faulty computers. The next slide here, the 7 major crime indicators for the division. This is category 7 crimes that is chosen that best reflect what's happening in an area. And as you go through these numbers, as I said, for this division, excellent. The only number that's up is assaults. Every other number is down. We are moving into the 4th month of the year, so the numbers are kind of plateauing and starting to mean more significance to them. So this is really good. And I guess a plug for some of the other Scarborough divisions. Scarborough-wide right now is looking pretty similar to this. So here in Scarborough, we're doing pretty good compared to citywide. We got pretty good numbers.
It's obviously encouraging, and for those that aren't aware, I know we'll probably periodically mention it. When we refer to 7 major crime indicators, this is a standard throughout Canada, where a police department in Comox, BC when they're comparing their numbers, they're comparing exactly the same 7 major crime indicators. It's changed slightly over what's counting and what isn't counting, but they're looking at the same thing. So when we say that it's trending, we can say it's nationally trending, and of course we do comparisons to our own division and area within the last reporting period. So anything that says negative in the bottom right corner is good.
And I think too, the superintendent says it on a regular basis, so I'll fill in for him today. I think it's significant to note that even the fact that we're still driving the numbers down, it's the 3rd or 4th consecutive year that we've done that here, which becomes even more increasingly challenging to continue to drive them down. Maintaining would be awesome. The fact that we're still driving the stats down is just, again, indicative of the hard work that the officers at 43 do. Thanks, Adam.
And I said one last slide here, just a little. I'm not trying to sound something like that. Just with the warmer weather coming, people are out, and it triples the score, make things better. Things are out overnight, bars might need to lock up your cars. Or you might even have some sold in your car. Theft bottles are down right now. If theft bottles are down, we'd like to keep it that way. That's basically all I ask for.
I could just add to that. I think it's important that the media gets wind of the fact that actually the MCIs are lower, and in Scarborough especially, because we get a bad rap constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they need to have a head shake right now, that, you know, that we prove that they are down.
Well,
And it's not just us here, but all of Scarborough, because
yeah.
I keep hearing it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard, sorry, that the national crime rate is dropping.
Yeah.
And they've got many reasons for that, ageism and whatnot, that all the criminals are getting older and less inclined to run up and break into something. But it is good. We're always afraid, of course, on the police side, they're going to say, oh, so you don't need as many of you.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to go at the numbers, but we're quite happy to at least maintain. Population is continually rising, depending on what the economics of the day are, and I guess we're doing fairly well relatively in the world, the country. Yes, we like to advertise, and we like to brag on what we've been doing and what the efforts have been. And we'll get into a little bit a little later. It's not just us; it is the community that are helping us. We get to do the fun stuff and put cups in. Anything negative, like I said, and we do tell them, and of course it goes directly to the chief and his supervisors, staff supers, and the deputies for consumption by the city hall.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that. Before we move on further, there was one thing that the superintendent had asked me to address. It was, I know that Julian Paul had looked into it. Dave, you had brought concern in the previous CPLC meeting about a lot of the changes to the Highway Traffic Act and how do we keep up. I think part of it was stemmed from the new pedestrian crossways and laws there. So what we've decided to do is, you know, for your information, for everybody, is make you aware of this website where you can go online and check at any time any of the updates as far as to the new laws, any changes or amendments to the existing laws. So we just wanted, Paul and Julie just worked on making this available to you. You can email them and they'll tell you the link again, but you just want to jot that down. And that way you can keep up to date on it on your own accord, as far as if you're concerned, you're not sure what the laws state.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Julie and I began doing this program ourselves. We put it under MTO, but we actually did all the work on it since last month. So. A couple things just quickly. You'll see what you're looking for is probably news and publications. And you'll see 3 lines up from the bottom, new rules of pedestrian crossovers and school crossings. So that would be a media release that they give some information on that topic. And it just goes through some of the stuff's infrastructure. There's been things on e-bikes in the past. You'll see about the middle, the electric vehicles. But in publications, 2 from the right there, or sorry, it is the right, isn't it, today? There's some stuff that's more in depth. So things like the road safety. The latest one is 2013. And pleased to report that for vehicles traveling, the roads have actually never been safer. Fatalities are actually their lowest per vehicle travel. So I'm hoping that would give you probably all the information you're looking for, and they would update it just like our press releases on TPS.
Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
And just before we move on, guys, I just want to, before I forget, for the picnic coming up, I have some posters. So I'm just going to ask that all of the CPLC members and community members, great, but CPLC members for sure, I've asked that you take about 10 of these and places that you frequent, your coffee shops, any areas that you go to, hang a poster. That would be awesome. And just a reminder, folks, that we're still trying to get a few more vendors as the superintendent has opened it up this year. So people, traditionally we have, let's say, Mad Canada, and they're coming to supply just information only. This year for the picnic, we do have the opportunity to sell stuff. So an example would be if Paul and I had our own locksmith company, and then we have a table that sells locks and strike plates and various things. So we're going to pay $100 to take part, to have a table that is offering items for sale. And that money, of course, comes back to the CPLC to put on future picnics. So we just have a little sign-up sheet. So again, while you're out at your businesses, anyone that you think might have an interest in taking part in the picnic, and it's just our first year, so the more the merrier. Anybody who's interested, please feel free. Thanks, guys.
Just to confirm, whether you're selling anything or not, just taking anything away, the tables are $100.
No, the tables that we've traditionally always had, Mad Canada, that type of thing, where we're just providing public information, absolutely free of charge, how it's always been. It's just if you're looking to sell something, you can make money from the picnic, it's only fair that the CPLC get a little bit of that to put on picnics next year and the year after that, and then skate days and everything else that they participate in. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Randy, was there anything of importance that you wanted to relay?
Nothing of importance, we're just keeping it going front here, we're just keeping it very short because of the long CPLC meeting, as well as what Paul and Julie were talking about, the ministry, this website, all the information for major crime indicators and our maps, our crime maps, they can all be found online, they can all be found on social media as well. Any questions at all? Take care.
I know it seems like we're hurrying through it a little bit more than we would ordinarily. Again, we know that we have a little bit larger of the second half of the meeting than we do typically. This is in preparation for, like Julie said, the open house picnic coming up next month. This is typically, I know that we addressed Dave's request there from the last meeting. This is typically where we would open up the floor to any community members that have a concern or want to bring something to our attention as far as community safety issues or things of that nature. So if anybody has anything they want to bring up. Going once? Going twice? No?
Everybody's happy in
Yeah,
spring,
you're more than.
aren't they?
I would like, unless there are no concerns, I would like to recognize last night the inspector and I had the fortunate opportunity to go down to the police college, and it was a volunteer recognition award ceremony that we attended. And we had 5 members, I believe, 5 members of 43 Division CPLC recognized for 5 years and 10 years and 15 years commitment. So I just wanted to recognize Cecilia and Marilyn and Arnold, Jay, and who am I missing here? And Layla. It was a nice ceremony. It was a very packed house. But again, I think it was an appropriate way of saying thank you for your volunteer hours. And I would just say that I'd like to thank you again for all the time that you guys put in. So thanks for It's like the inspector said, without you, there would be no CPLC and we wouldn't be moving forward in community partnerships.
And one of the other reasons I was hoping to speed today's gathering up a little bit more, immediately after I got to get changed into my fancy clothes and head down to City Hall to recognize our crossing guards in their award ceremony with I don't know if the mayor's coming, but I'm going to be there. And they will be getting recognized for their multiple years of working and keeping all the kids safe. It's awards month. I like it.
Do you think sometime you could wear your uniform here with those medals that you had on last night? And I didn't get a pin last night, by the way. I'm not the Maryland. This is Maryland. I already had one.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna get it someday.
My Sunday games, yeah.
For a year, because it was awesome.
Wearing it proudly. So again, unless somebody has any community concerns to bring forward, we're gonna call that it, for this portion. You can take a quick, we'll say like a 5-minute break, maybe to grab a cup of coffee. And then we're gonna start with the CPLC members talking about, more or less talking about the picnic and the plans. Okay? Thank you very much for coming.